Have you ever stood in a room full of people and still felt like the loneliest person there? You glance around, searching for someone to talk to. You rehearse lines in your head, trying to seem interesting, confident, or at least normal. But the words don't come out right. Or worse, they don't come out at all. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts spiral, and in that moment, it feels like everyone else has figured something out that you haven't. Small talk. Two words that sound harmless, yet for so many, they trigger anxiety, self-doubt, even shame. You start thinking you're awkward, that you're bad at conversation, that maybe you're just not social enough. But here's the truth, you're not the problem. No one ever taught you how to navigate those moments, not in school, not in life. You were expected to just get it. But connection isn't a natural talent. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned, refined, and mastered. Most people don't realize how common this struggle is. You're not alone in feeling overwhelmed by small talk. In fact, some of the most intelligent, thoughtful people find these moments difficult, not because they're broken, but because they feel too deeply. They don't want surface level exchanges. They want meaning, but they've been trapped by the belief that connection only happens through charm, wit, or charisma. But what if that belief was wrong? What if the reason small talk feels so draining isn't because you're bad at it, but because you've been approaching it from the wrong place? You see, we live in a world that celebrates loud voices. We're taught to be interesting, funny, clever, to impress people, to stand out. But real connection doesn't come from performance. It comes from presence, from making someone feel safe, heard, and seen. That's what every human truly wants. And the moment you shift your focus from what do I say to how can I make them feel understood, everything changes. This isn't just philosophy, it's neuroscience. Studies show that our brains are wired for connection. The need to belong is as fundamental as food or sleep. When we feel socially rejected or excluded, the same regions in the brain light up as when we experience physical pain. That's why small talk anxiety hurts so deeply. It's not just uncomfortable, it's primal. But here's the most important truth you need to know. You have the power to change this. You don't need to be the loudest person in the room. You don't need a script or a set of rehearsed jokes. What you need is to show up as you are with openness, curiosity, and the willingness to connect. Because the people who are best at conversations aren't the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who make others feel most comfortable, the ones who ask instead of perform, the ones who listen without needing to respond, the ones who understand that real conversation starts not with the mouth, but with the heart. And that's exactly what you're going to discover today. By the end of this, you won't just know how to handle small talk, you'll feel confident, calm, and in control. You'll walk into any room, any setting, and know exactly how to turn awkward moments into meaningful ones. You'll stop second-guessing yourself, you'll stop fearing silence, and you'll finally realize that the power to connect has always been inside you. Because the truth is, you were never bad at conversation. You just needed a different way to see it. And once you do, small talk won't feel small anymore. It will feel like the gateway to something deeper, something real. So if you've ever walked away from a conversation and thought, why can't I just be normal? This is for you. If you've ever wished you could feel relaxed around others instead of anxious or invisible, this is your moment. The old way of pushing through, forcing a smile, and pretending to be someone you're not, it ends now. You don't have to struggle anymore. You don't have to hide. You're ready, and the world is ready for the real you. Now, let's unlock the confidence that's been waiting inside you all along. It all begins with the way you think about conversation. Most people approach small talk with one question in mind. How do I sound interesting? But that question is the root of the struggle. It creates pressure. It turns a moment of connection into a performance. And anytime you feel like you have to perform, you disconnect from your power. The truth is, you don't need to be interesting, you need to be interested. That one shift can change everything. Because people don't remember clever words or flawless delivery. They remember how you made them feel. If you can make someone feel seen, They will remember you forever. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to something you already have, your natural ability to connect through curiosity, presence, and attention. Real conversation flows when you stop trying to be impressive and start being present. When you show up fully, listen deeply, and give the other person your full attention, something powerful happens. People open up. They feel safe. They feel respected. And they respond with the same energy. Social ease is not about having the perfect line. It's about letting go of the fear that you have to be perfect at all. You're not here to deliver a script. You're here to connect as a human being. And human beings don't need polish. They need presence. Think about the last time someone genuinely asked you how you were doing and meant it, not as a formality, not as a quick greeting, but as a real question. That moment probably stuck with you, not because it was extraordinary, but because it's rare. In a world filled with noise and distraction, focused attention is a gift. When you offer it, you instantly become someone people want to talk to. Here's what happens when you approach conversation this way. Your anxiety goes down. You stop analyzing every word. You stop predicting the next move. You settle into the moment. You let things unfold naturally. You trust that connection doesn't require effort, it requires honesty. And this honesty, this realness, is what gives you quiet confidence. Not the fake, loud kind that relies on jokes or charm, but the grounded, steady kind that comes from knowing you belong in every room you walk into. Not because you're perfect, but because you are real. And being real is more than enough. When you focus on being interested, new energy enters your interactions. You begin to ask better questions, you notice more, you hear more, you respond with more warmth and depth. Suddenly, conversations don't feel like battles, they feel like bridges. You're no longer trying to win small talk, you're trying to understand someone. That's powerful, and science supports this. Studies show that people who ask follow-up questions and show genuine curiosity are consistently rated as more likable, trustworthy, and intelligent. Why? Because we're hardwired to seek connection with those who make us feel safe, and emotional safety is built through attention, not performance. Start with simple questions that open the door to something real. Not, what do you do? But, what do you enjoy about your work? Not how's your day, but what's been the highlight of your week? These questions don't require genius, they require care. And care is rare enough to be memorable. You don't need to talk more, you need to care more. Not in a forced way, but in a way that reflects who you truly are when you stop trying to be someone you're not. You're not here to impress, you're here to connect. And once you understand that, the fear begins to fade. The awkwardness melts away. You're no longer trying to climb some invisible social ladder. You're simply showing up with honesty and presence and letting the rest unfold. This is how you rewire the way you see small talk, not as a performance, not as a test, but as a gateway, a chance to turn strangers into allies, a chance to make someone's day a little better just by listening. When you lead with curiosity, you don't just improve your conversations, you transform them. You stop surviving social moments and start thriving in them. You gain confidence, not by pretending, but by being fully you. And that kind of confidence, it doesn't fade when the conversation ends. It stays with you. It becomes part of how you walk, how you speak, how you show up in every space. It's not loud, it's not forced, but it's strong, steady, unshakable. Because when you realize that connection doesn't come from being perfect, but from being present, you stop fearing conversation. You start owning them. And the more you practice this shift, the more natural it feels until one day you're the person people gravitate toward. Not because you talk the most, but because you listen with intention. This is what turns small talk into powerful talk. Not longer speeches, not bigger smiles, but deeper attention, honest energy, and the courage to show up as you are. That courage is already in you, and it's ready to change the way you connect with the world. There's a quiet kind of power that comes when you stop trying to control every word and simply trust yourself. When you let go of the fear of judgment and instead walk into a conversation with calm, grounded energy, people feel it. They may not be able to explain it, but they sense it. That's what true confidence looks like. It's not loud. It doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't rush to fill silence. It simply is. You've already felt pieces of this before. Those rare moments when you weren't overthinking, when you weren't trying so hard and the words just flowed. That wasn't luck. That was you. Unfiltered, that was you, free of pressure. And the more you practice showing up as that version of yourself, the more natural it becomes. It's not about having better conversations. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need approval to feel worthy. Someone who speaks with intention, not insecurity. The truth is, every great communicator started in the same place. Unsure, awkward, searching for the right words. But what separated them wasn't talent, it was presence. It was the decision to stop hiding and start trusting. Because the most magnetic people in the room aren't the ones trying to be perfect. They're the ones who are comfortable being imperfect. You don't need to dominate a conversation to leave a mark. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is hold space for someone else. To listen without interrupting. To nod without rushing in with your opinion. To allow silence, not as something to fear, but as a sacred pause that gives depth to your words. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength under control. It shows that you're not scrambling for approval, that you're not desperate to be liked. You're simply present. And presence is rare. In a world that's always distracted, constantly looking over your shoulder, presence is magnetic. When you give someone your full focus, even for just a moment, they remember you. Not because you said something brilliant, but because you made them feel human. This isn't about tricks. It's not about faking interest. It's about becoming the kind of person who actually cares, who listens without waiting to talk, who understands that connection is built on feeling, not flash. Every time you make someone feel safe, you've done something powerful. You've shifted the energy. You've broken the surface level routine most people are stuck in, and they will notice. They will feel it. When you let your authenticity guide your conversations, the world responds differently. You don't have to chase approval, it finds you. You don't need to dominate attention, it naturally comes to you. Because you're not trying to impress, you're inviting others to be real with you. That's rare. That's unforgettable. You're welcome. Gratitude. Go out there and be. Someone criticizes you, but the kind that's rooted deep. Confidence that says, I don't need to be anyone else. I don't need to perform. Who I am is enough. That confidence becomes your foundation. It becomes your anchor when the room feels tense. It becomes your strength when others hesitate. It becomes your calm in chaos. That's what people feel when they talk to someone who's grounded, peace, security, presence. And deep down, that's what everyone's really looking for. Not entertainment, not noise, but a moment of genuine connection. A moment where they can drop their guard and be themselves. And here's the truth you need to hold on to. You already have everything you need to be that kind of person. You don't need to be louder, funnier, or more outgoing. You need to be real. You need to trust that showing up as yourself is the most powerful thing you can do. You've been carrying self-doubt for too long. You've spent too much energy trying to sound right, act right, fit in, and every time you shrink yourself to meet someone else's expectations, you disconnect from your own voice. It's time to take that back. It's time to walk into every room with your shoulders back, your mind clear, and your presence unshaken. You don't need to speak to everyone. You don't need to be liked by everyone. You just need to connect with one person, one moment at a time. That's how confidence is built. Not through grand gestures, but through steady, authentic presence. So the next time you're in a conversation, remember this. Slow down. Breathe. Let go of the need to impress. Tune in to the other person. Let your attention become your power. Let your calm become your message. Speak less, feel more. And when the time comes to speak, speak with intention. Because your voice matters, Your presence matters, and your ability to connect without pretending is what will set you apart in a world full of noise. This is how you become unforgettable, not by trying harder, but by trusting deeper. Trusting that being real is enough. Trusting that presence is your superpower. And trusting that you don't need to struggle anymore. You're already everything you need to be. Now, speak from that place and let the world feel it. That moment when you finally stop apologizing for who you are, that's when everything begins to shift. When you realize that you don't need to fill every silence, that you don't have to say something clever to be valuable. A quiet freedom rises inside you. When you say you don't need to fill every silence, that means the truth will set you. It's the freedom to show up fully, to speak simply, and to trust that being real is more powerful than being polished. You were never meant to shrink to fit someone else's comfort. You were never meant to bury your voice behind rehearsed lines or fake smiles. You were meant to speak with clarity, to bring presence into every room, and to let your energy speak louder than your words ever could. Because conversation isn't about noise, it's about alignment. Wow. We're going to speak about that a lot in this episode, so get ready. Conversation isn't about noise, it's about alignment. And when your words match your heart, people lean in, they listen, they feel safe. You don't have to force chemistry. You don't have to chase connection. The right people respond to authenticity. They respond to the calm in your tone, the ease in your body language, the warmth in your eyes. Those are things you can't fake. And when you stop trying to be impressive, you make space for those qualities to rise naturally. That's when you become magnetic without trying. Too many people walk into conversations trying to be liked, but when you need someone's approval, you give away your power. You become reactive, self-conscious, and afraid of rejection. But when you walk in already liking yourself, everything changes. You don't chase validation. You radiate certainty. You don't adjust to every opinion. You stand grounded in your truth. You become a calm presence in a world full of people trying too hard. And that calmness is contagious. People crave it. They crave realness in a sea of performance. When you embody that, you become the person others feel safe around, the one they trust, the one they want to open up to, not because you say the right things, but because you're not trying to be anything other than who you are. This is the foundation of powerful conversation. Not memorized scripts, not perfect timing, but inner alignment. When you feel secure within yourself, you stop overanalyzing every word. You stop fearing silence. You let the interaction flow with natural rhythm, and that creates trust. Because trust isn't built on performance. It's built on consistency, presence, and authenticity.